A lady once asked me a question which I am sure has come to the minds of many who have seriously attempted to apply this principle. She said, if security came to me through the death of a loved one, did I bring about that death? Now, that question is not a small one, for it touches the very fear men have concerning this law. The fear behind it is not really concerned with death. The fear is that by accepting a desired end, one may somehow become responsible for the manner in which that end is realized. Man assumes that if he accepts wealth, someone must lose. If he accepts advancement, someone must be displaced. If he accepts security, someone must be injured. He therefore becomes afraid of his own imagination and hesitates to accept the thing desired. But this fear is entirely unfounded. You did not cause the death of anyone by accepting the feeling of security. The deeper self that you really are is not working injury upon another in order to fulfill your assumption. It sees the whole vast pattern of life and knows what the surface mind cannot know, for it beholds the entire drama as a completed whole. Suppose a man desired security and accepted that state so completely that he felt no further concern regarding it. Then shortly afterward, an uncle departed this world and left him an inheritance. The man might naturally wonder if his imaginal act had somehow brought about that event. May I tell you, it did not. The imaginal act did not determine the death, it accepted the end. The uncle departed at the appointed hour of his own life, and because that event formed part of the bridge by which the accepted state would be realized, it became one of the means employed for its fulfillment. I tell you that man should concern himself with the end and not with the means. The mistake man makes is to assume that because the means appeared in connection with his desire, he must therefore have caused the means. Yet he did not create the bridge. He merely accepted the destination toward which the bridge was leading. The difficulty is that we are always trying to foresee the manner in which our desire will become objective. We wish to know through whom it will come and how it will be accomplished. Yet these questions arise only because we are looking away from the end and becoming occupied with the means. If a man desires wealth, let him accept wealth. If he desires security, let him accept security. If he desires recognition, let him accept recognition. Let him enter the state and remain faithful to it, for the state accepted contains within itself all that is necessary for its externalization. For this reason, the man who has truly accepted the end ceases to be anxious concerning the means. He does not sit in judgment upon every event that occurs. He does not wonder whether the law is operating. He does not become alarmed because he cannot yet perceive the result. Having accepted the state, he allows it to unfold according to its own nature. A man who boards a ship bound for England does not spend every hour asking how the vessel will cross the ocean. Having boarded it, he has already accepted the journey. Yet the anxious man is forever trying to row the ship he has already boarded. In the same manner, when a man has accepted the feeling of the wish fulfilled, he should not continually disturb himself with questions concerning the manner of its realization. The acceptance of the end sets in motion a series of events which lead inevitably toward that end, though the movement may be entirely hidden from the outer senses. Because he cannot see the movement, man becomes restless. And because he becomes anxious, he attempts to assist the process. He tries to arrange circumstances, influence people, force opportunities, and open doors that are not his to open. Yet all such effort proceeds from the mistaken belief that the realization of the desire depends upon him. Your responsibility is not to devise the bridge of incidents. Your responsibility is simply to accept the end and remain faithful to that acceptance. The moment you truly understand this, a tremendous burden is lifted from your shoulders. You discover that the work was never yours to do. The burden of making it so falls away, for the burden was never the desire itself. The burden was the belief that you had to devise the way. Therefore, whenever you are tempted to ask how a thing will happen, return to the end. Whenever you are tempted to question the means, return to the end. Whenever you become disturbed because you cannot yet see the fulfillment, return to the end. Concern yourself with the end and leave the means entirely alone. For the acceptance of the end wills the means toward its fulfillment.